Okay, we'll start up. Okay, so thank you guys all for coming over the summer. I know everyone has busy schedules, so it was really great. Got a decent amount of people here, which is sweet. So basically, me and Logan a couple weeks ago went through a whole bunch of projects that kind of fitting in with the theme of this year, we want to try to get done. And kind of to start off this meeting, I'm going to reiterate some things that we talked about last week in terms of goals for this year and what our schedule is going to look like. So going into this year, I think it's pretty obvious. I think everyone here went to competition, right? Yeah, I think so. So it was pretty obvious that we had some setbacks at both competitions, E-car and C-car, because of the lack of kind of preparation time that we had before competition. If we had been running those cars reliably, and we saw this last week with C-car running, they're pretty damn good cars when you get them running reliably. And Ewan's not here in this meeting, but he said like C-car was awesome to drive once we fixed the brakes not working and stuff like that. So that's disappointing, but also we had a reassuring because we had really good cars. So this next year, kind of the goal for our entire team is essentially, like in a simplified way, is to be concise and efficient. So this year, we're going to be focusing a lot on smaller iterative improvements, and if there are large projects, only one or two, mainly only one per sub team kind of thing. And then additionally, we're going to try to maximize the amount of testing time that we have this year. So like I said, I'm not going to go too in depth in this because you can watch the other video, but basically for this year, we're going to have the first semester up until Thanksgiving be pushing really hard on design for all across the entire team. And then Thanksgiving is going to be a harsh deadline for design projects. So because this meeting is going to be talking about design projects, keep in mind what your schedules are and stuff. And so all the design projects that we're going to talk about that aren't testing related and validation related are going to be done by Thanksgiving. And what that will do is allow us to have the entire winter break to do the bulk of our manufacturing. And if you put into perspective, like we usually push the last couple of weeks of school really, really hard to get done. And I'd say we do like 30% of the car in the last 2 weeks before competition. If we could do that in the 3 weeks that we have of winter break and push as hard as we do at the end of the year, where we have almost 24-hour access to the shop, team lab open, and no school and no exams, we're pretty confident that we can get the majority of the car done by then. And the goal is that the start of second semester, we're going to have these new deadlines that we're calling spinning motors. So spinning motors is like engine running, electric motors running, and the rolling chassis and stuff are going to be parallel pathed with that. And then we put it all together at the start of second semester. And that leaves us an entire semester of testing and driver performance and tweaking designs that don't need to be absolutely perfect, like we've done in the past, and improving on them. And honestly, our designs will be better if we work fast and hard first semester and then improve on them once they're running on the car. So that's kind of the theme for this year. So going off of that, Logan and I talked for a while about how we're going to structure this year. And then what we're going to do is kind of split the team up a little bit more in some ways, but still everyone working together and working on everything. So what we don't want to run into is having like 3 separate teams working under one roof, but we want to make sure that we kind of divide our big team and organize ourselves a little bit better instead of just kind of willy-nilly everyone doing everything and trying to find work, and some people being overloaded and some people being underloaded. So what we're going to do this year, first off, is we're going to create something that we're calling specializations. So everyone comes into work on like carbon fiber layups or trimming or whatever, and working and inputting ideas into designs. And I encourage everyone to still learn CFD who wants to, even if you're not going to be in that specialization. But basically what the specializations are going to be is we're going to have 3 categories, and it's going to be simulations, structures, and validation and testing. So the idea is that when you're not in the shop working and things like that, that your focuses on research and your at-home projects and things like that will be in one of those 3 categories, so that we can have some really strong members that can help across the team, not just on Aero and composites. So like for our simulations specialization, it's not just going to be Aero CFD. We're going to integrate simulations people into like the battery team working on, and inverter teams working on cold plates and stuff, and the drivetrain and powertrain teams working on cooling, and then also like Luke with his exhaust system. I know Tamara worked with him on that. We're going to have simulation specialization people helping out with those teams. And then for structures, it's going to be mainly focused around our carbon fiber and everything carbon fiber adjacent, like things that go into the monocoque, mounting devices and such. And you're going to work with everyone that needs to mount things structurally or kind of build anything that has to do with the carbon fiber monocoque, the working around Aero devices, or just simply building mounts that are needed to make the car roll. So working heavily with the chassis team and stuff like that. So that's structures specialization. And then the last one, the new one that we really didn't do last year, is testing and validation specialization. And we thought this was a really good idea because our team does a lot of testing and validation, not just because like we want to, but because we have to. So the testing validation team, or not team, specialization people will work with structures people and Aero people. And you guys, whoever you want to be, is going to work on testing composite panels in the lab, validating Aero devices, whether it be next semester in wind tunnel like setups, or doing research into how we can test aerodynamic devices, doing research into how we can test structural devices. We really lost a lot of points in design because we didn't have validation on the Aero front and structures front. So we're going to make a separate specialization that works on that. And honestly, we lost a lot of our engineering last year because we didn't do validation, because half of your design comes from validation too. So all 3, you can kind of see as I'm explaining this how all 3 of those specializations really work together. And it's not going to feel like there's a lot of change, but we're going to be a much more organized team this year. So I think that's going to be really good. That's kind of the general overview of how we're going to set up design projects and things like that. And then also just like, this isn't the highlight of this meeting. We'll talk more about this when the year starts, but there's a lot of us, and there's going to be more of us coming in with new members. So I've mentioned this a couple of times, but every single one of you guys here are going to get some kind of a buddy that is going to be a new member. Obviously, like if you guys either recruit them or like are making friends with them somehow, or invite them onto the team, that we'll take that into consideration. We're not just going to randomly select people. And then also the idea behind that is it's going to be like, we want to keep growing at the rate that we have been. So we want you guys, instead of just like last year with me and Isaac focusing on bringing up all of you guys, it's going to be falling onto your shoulders to kind of tell them, hey, we're all working in the office right now. Come by. Or, hey, we're going out to get food. Come eat food with us. And then also helping them with, now that you guys, most of you have all had like internships, helping them with their resumes, helping them that way, kind of being like their own personal guide through our team, so that we can focus on a lot more people all at once, and not just have me and Logan jumping between everyone, and probably missing out on some people. So I think that will be really good for our team. And then also for projects. Obviously, we're going to keep the tutorials that you guys did. I think that worked really well, kind of introductory. And then those of you that did that can help them with those. And then also this next year, we're going to not just do like CFD tutorials, but probably have some intro stuff in composites and in testing as well. So kind of across the board, working from the ground up to make everything more organized and better for new members and for you guys as well. With that being said, let me pull up Monday here. Logan, did I miss anything from kind of the general stuff? Okay, sweet. I apologize, my Wi-Fi is slow and Monday is loading.
Amir, did Kmart get you a house where everyone's staying in, or are you living in a apartment now?
This is a house, so it's right kind of by the lake. We're staying.
Are you in Seekins? The lake is really nice.
Sorry?
So the lake is really nice.
Seepkins is a bar.
Seepkins has a hotel too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought you, yeah. No, we're on a lake house that one of the owners owns. Okay. So this is what our project looked like right now. So I'm going to organize this by specialization here, just to kind of run through everything. Okay. So we'll just kind of I'll just kind of run through everything and just kind of explain, give a brief overview of what it is. And then we can go into kind of the larger scale projects, smaller scale projects, and ones that are like kind of small scale projects. We can have like multiple people jump on them, or multiple people working on different ones. But we'll kind of run through everything. This Monday board is pretty organized. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely after this, kind of go through everything as well. But yeah, I'll just jump into it. So we'll start with kind of like validation stuff that we have so far. Also, I'm going to say that this is not the be-all end-all list of everything we're going to do this year, and this is it. Lots of these projects may not flesh out, and we might add some projects as well. But this is kind of a good framework to complete all the tasks that we want to and need to complete this year. So for validation, we need new test rigs for carbon fiber samples. So the test rigs that we currently have essentially need to be upgraded. We'll dive more into why that is. But like the 3-point bend test sample or test rig and such are going to be kind of essentially remade. And that's going to be a very high priority project because we need it towards the start of the year as we get new test samples for SES. And there's going to be a lot of structures behind that as well on how you're going to design that. So if you want to be a validation kind of person, that's a good one for you. Carbon fiber overlap joint testing. So when we made the monocoque, it ended up being heavier than anticipated. And part of why we think that is because of the amount of overlap that we had when we were working on it. For those of you guys that did the monocoque layup, if you remember that number 8 piece that kind of went over the entire top of the car, had a lot of overlap. So we're going to try to cut that down. And the way that we're going to do that is test kind of the amount of overlap that we need to be strong. And then we'll also be a lot more precise when we're cutting. And I'll talk about kind of how we're going to try to do the monocoque differently. That will make that easier as well. Wind tunnel radiator validation. We have a small scale wind tunnel in the school, and we're going to try to see if we can utilize that to do some radiator validation because it's hard to get really great validation on radiators through CFD, especially like our specific type. Gurney flap validation. The gurney flaps, we had some criticism at competition about kind of the area that the gurney flaps covered in terms of length and width, and potentially and having only one glued gurney flap size. So we're going to do some validation on that and see exactly how see exactly how that's going to work. And also, okay, so I'll kind of run over this. We have sub items in these projects. So some of the like slightly kind of more integrated projects, there's different specializations that work under it. And the way that this Monday board works is the kind of main specialization that's like kind of the biggest part of the project is written up here. But every single one that has subtasks have more than one person working on it. Tire temp sensor mounting. So that's going to be a project for next semester. So once the cars or a design this semester, but mainly going to be like rolled out next semester. So there's a couple places that we could mount the tire temp sensors. So this semester we'll work into how we want to do that. We could do it very sleek and kind of integrate it into the end plate or just mount it somewhere simpler as well. But that's the point of that project. Front and rear wing stress sensor setups. That's going to be kind of a research-based project for the first semester. So we want to use some strain gauges throughout. Those of you guys that are going to be doing the mechanics materials lab this year will learn a lot about strain gauges. So definitely something that we can implement that will give us some good readings on the stresses that our wings see and possibly even design better structural mounting and stuff in future years as well. Oh, lots of people joining. Oh, didn't someone join? Maybe not. Okay, Hopefully they got in. Laser level ride height mounts. Again, kind of a first semester research-based project, and then when the car's put together, that will be like a validation of the car. It will be really helpful for car setups and for data ac too. So those are kind of some teams that you'll work cross with. Full car wind tunnel testing. So this is a big one, and one that is a high priority and a large project, you see here. So this, we're going to be contacting one of our old sponsors, Modine, that we used to work with, and I will work with whoever wants to kind of take helm of this project to reach out to them. And then kind of designing how we're going to design a test rig for that, and kind of working with Modine to do a full car wind tunnel test, which will obviously be after all of the other projects are essentially completed. But lots of kind of research can be done into this, and lots of time to reach out to sponsors.
And fixtures, we'll need good data ac fixtures for that to work.
Yeah, data ac fixtures. So yeah, so there's kind of, I don't know, for those of you guys that saw the wind tunnel in school, they have like this kind of sting balance mount, and there's something similar at Modine that measures the forces on the car.
No, there's not. We have to make it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We have to make it. That's what I meant. Yes. We have to make something similar. So that's going to be a large project working on that. And it's going to be pretty complex too. Torsional rigidity testing, also a large scope project. The only reason it's medium priority is because obviously, like, it would be really good to do. It's it's just less not as high priority, but very important and very large. What a torsional rigidity test does is basically going to test the kind of structures of the monocoque, torsional rigidity of the monocoque. So yeah, see how stiff it is, exactly. Okay, and that's, and then flow viz validation. So again, kind of researching into it this year, maybe doing some tests with the old cars especially. That's going to be a big focus for validation this year. Oh yeah, I'll dive kind of into this. It's kind of cool. So we have C-Car running, and it's going to be running throughout this semester, and it's the same monocoque that's going to be on the next two cars. So we can validate a lot of things and a lot of projects, and even running like if we have lower level structures or Aero projects, we can run tests and iterations in person on the old car, which we didn't do in the past, which I think because we have new monocoque. But now that we have the same monocoque, I think it'll be really good because, as everyone says, the CFD like never tells the truth, but if you validate in real life, you'll actually see what your car's doing. So flow viz validation is going to be a big part of that this semester. It shouldn't take too long to do some research or sponsors or purchasing it, but we can validate it throughout this year. Okay, and then now moving on to structures projects. So a couple of our large projects I'll talk about first. So front wing redesign and mounting. So last year's mounting was really designed around E-Car because that monocoque was done. So what we're going to do this year is adapt to C-Car monocoque and take a lot of the things that we learned off of the old design, specifically making it more adjustable, trying to keep the same amount of rigidity because it was the judges were really impressed with the strength, but not impressed with the lack of adjustability. So that's something we're going to work into. This is a project that I'm going to be a part of. I want to kind of iterate on some things and work closely with you guys, whoever wants to tag along with this. And yeah, so this is going to be a project that involves structures, simulations, and validation. One of the couple of large projects that we're going to do this year. Somebody say something? Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of these projects work together. This is definitely going to be one of the ones that can work together with like tire temp sensors and such, because front wing redesign this year is not just going to be structural mounting redesign. It's going to be also like kind of a CFD redesign. We're not going to move away from the airfoils that we have, but we are going to kind of revamp the front wing and potentially dive into things like curved end plates and tire temp mounting in the end plates and such like that. So it's going to be a large undertaking. Carbon fiber intake. So this is something that is research based to start, design based as well. Not drive necessary, but definitely would be awesome for design points. Powertrain has been asking for this for a bit now too. So this would be a really cool project to do. Going to be one of those mid priority ones or mid scope ones. And simulations and structures both involved. Carbon fiber steering wheel. This is going to be another high priority large project. Charlie worked on it last year and found a lot of things that could be improved. I'm sure you did, Charlie, and I know you did. So this year we're going to work on redesigning the steering wheel, mainly because the electronic components require it. So that's going to be a large project, is a complete steering wheel overhaul. And we're going to do the structures side and work very closely with the electronics team as well. Pre-preg wings. This is something that we have been needing to do for probably almost 6 years now, is make new wing elements. I know a lot of you guys like pointed out to me that the wings that we were using said 2015 on them. So definitely something that I know all of you know about is remaking the wings. And we're going to try pre-preg because frankly, we're better at that process, and hopefully we can be quicker and produce better and stronger and potentially lighter weight wings too. Steering rack cowling. So this is a low and small priority project. I'm going to briefly tell you guys about it because I want you to be informed. Basically, when we were running through tech, one of the things that they told us about, which has never really been mentioned in the rules or anything like that before, is that we had an undermounted steering rack this year with the new monocoque, and something that they were worried about was if we bottomed out and the steering assembly would go into the driver. So that's something that we have to plan for. If they implement it into the rules, it will be super simple, just some kind of protective shield over it. Zeus templates and keys. That one Zeus template has been stressing me out for a while now. So we're gonna just simply make more templates, more keys, another small project that anyone can jump on. Possibly even finish it by the end of this summer too. Nose cone, Aero shield plug, and mold redo. So when we were pulling out some of the Aero devices, some of our molds got damaged. We're going to kind of assess how much damage there are, if we can simply just repair them and get same quality out of it, I would definitely lean towards that. If it's beyond repair, we'll have to redo those plugs and molds. And so that's going to be probably like a multiple people thing. We might not even assign people to this, as we're just that's going to be part of our layups process. New carbon fiber pedals. This is one that's kind of cool, but going to be needed. And actually, I'm going to bump it up to medium priority, because when we were testing CCAR, we noticed some problems with the pedals and the way that they're mounted on the master cylinders. And the chassis team is going to do, Josh is going to do some investigation into that. And yeah, so something that we should definitely look into is carbon fiber pedals redesign as well. Something that's kind of cool.
How does the composite accelerator pedal affect the master cylinders?
I was mainly talking about the brake pedal, which I thought was composite. If it's not,
It's metal, solid metal.
My bad. Anyways, never mind. I will bump that down to 30. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay.
I mean, we could try to make a carbon one. That would be kind of
interesting. Like, I'm up to it. It sounded like we weren't interested, but yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm just, I was confused by your statement, but
yeah,
I mean, it's not a bad idea, just not necessarily what we have.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. CNC core pieces. So something that a lot of teams do that we noticed at competition and could kind of benefit us in a lot of ways in building the monocoque and others things is non-honeycomb core that's CNC'd to be more accurate. So if you guys remember when we were doing, for those of you that help with core and stuff, when we were doing the dash and kind of the surrounding area, it was pretty hard to get a lot of those curvy areas with core. We had to like slice it up and press it, and it wouldn't want to stay against the film adhesive. So for those areas and kind of doing lots of structures research into where we could change core to just CNC pieces or other potential materials as well. That's going to be kind of what this project surrounds.
I do have a question about that too. Today at work, they brought in this brand new material that they haven't used before. It's this like porous foam. So they say it's even stronger than the P600, and it's porous, so it's like 1/3 the weight.
Yeah, so a lot of teams do use different densities of foam, and some of them are really light. Yeah, so definitely looking into that's kind of what we're talking about when we say CNC core pieces, like the foam pieces. And yeah, there's some pretty lightweight ones and some pretty strong ones too. Working potentially, like depending on what kind of foam we get, working with sponsors and stuff to figure out if we can not just straight up buy it is going to be a lot of this project as well. 3D printed molds for ducts and other potential things too. But this project is revolved around the ducts. But yeah, more 3D printing, more research into 3D printing, since last year was essentially our first year doing 3D printed molds. So definitely going to be this initial project is a small one, but probably the people that work on this can work on to other 3D printed molds. Okay. Rear wing structural end plates. So this is another large project that isn't like completely mandatory, as our wing did work for the most part last year, except for those old inserts that tore out. But
except for the one time it didn't.
Yeah, the ones that tore out. Yeah. So something that we're going to look into, that me and Isaac talked about a lot last year and threw around some ideas, and that we're going to try to execute this year, is rear wing structural end plates. A lot of teams do them and they look sick. and they're also obviously going to be a lot stronger. So this is going to be one of the ones that splits up into a lot of different projects as well. So simulations, running simulations on like curves. So instead of just doing like flat end plates that we have in the past, now that we can 3D print stuff, we might kind of combo our flat plates and 3D printed areas and running simulations into the different curves that we could put on these end plates. And then obviously validation, simulation, FEA, and structures design all jump into that large project. Sorry, I'm going to start running through these fast. I just noticed the time's getting kind of late. Okay, carbon fiber nylon pucks. Something that we talked about at comp was like we have those solid carbon fiber pucks, but jumping into other materials and research on that is a structure project that we can do. Wood and other materials, not just for pucks, but other things like I know the German team used it throughout their wing elements, and they would just drill into the wood then through their wing and mount stuff, which was interesting, but honestly kind of cool, and it completely works. And there's some woods and stuff out there that are very strong and very light. So definitely research into that and potential. Carbon fiber fabric cutter sponsor. So there are lots of places that have carbon fiber fabric cutters now. A lot of places that do carbon fiber have them. I know like Multimatic has like 10 of them. So yeah, definitely we could find some carbon fiber fabric cutter sponsors so that we can cut down on the amount of time we spend with scissors and markers and get a lot more accurate pieces so that we don't lose out on weight and such.
Just a thought that occurred to me real quick. Trek might have them.
Yeah, that's completely potential. Yeah, like honestly, anything that does carbon fiber has a high chance of having fabric cutters because not a lot of people do scissors and pens.
Isn't the makerspace trying to get a fabric CNC cutter?
Not anymore. That project, I talked to Glenn about it. If they are going to do it, it would be not in the near future, is basically the answer to that. Yeah. And the way that the university works, which you guys will learn over the years of being here, is they'll say that they're going to work on a project. Like, I don't know how many years ago now, they said that they're going to fix up the oven or something like that, or at least take it out, but it still has the same scorch marks from 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So yeah, they are not quick to move on those kinds of projects. So we're just not going to count on them to get us those things and just do our own research for time's sake. 3D printing smooth tests. This is a medium project, kind of doing some test samples on smoothing our 3D prints for molds that we don't need to do so much sanding or potentially no sanding at all, which would really speed up our processes, which would be awesome. And then these last kind of structures projects are the same old. We're not really going to assign people to them. Logan and I will be taking on SES, and we also want to open it up to people if you're interested to learn about those, because definitely when we're gone, we need more people to do that. And the earlier you start, the more you'll know about it in the future. So SES projects, people can definitely opt for, and monocoque manufacturing, everyone's going to work on. So that finishes up the structures. Then we get into some simulation. So these are all, as you can see, there's not a lot. They're all very large projects. So kind of run through them. And also when we're doing these, we may parallel path some people working together or something like that, because it's always good to bounce off ideas. And if you run into kind of some clinches in simulation, it can be frustrating to just work on it on your own to try to figure it out. So DRS model recheck, this is a low priority but we haven't done it in a while. So something that almost everyone asks about, and now what we say about it might be outdated. So we just want to make sure that DRS kind of how it lies in the cards for us. So that's a combination of lap sim and CFD. So if any of you guys have been interested in lap sim in the past, this would be a good project to kind of get introed into it too. Because if you're going to do this project, you got to run it in lap sim as well. So that'd be kind of cool too. And that's kind of followed the theme of simulations. We're going to be working on multiple different things and also different softwares. Floor redesign. I know Tamara worked a lot on this and did some really good stuff. And unfortunately, we didn't get to put your strikes on the bottom. So I'm sure you're going to want to continue into this. And yeah, there's a lot we could do with this kind of very open-ended project. So going to be a very large scope project. Not completely mandatory to be on the car. That most of the higher priority ones are mandatory, but large and medium. Driver helmet aero, something cool that we can dive into now that a lot of you guys know about CFD. Working with that, kind of, yeah, basically anything you can figure out about driver helmet aero and different devices we could add or something like that. Another open-ended project falling underneath the rules. There are a lot of rules around driver helmet and obstructions to driver helmet, so definitely brushed up on rules when working on this. Side pod wing design. So Logan made some awesome side pods last year, really sleek, really narrow. This opens up the opportunity for us to do some side pod wing design to kind of clean up and push out the air that would in the past just hit the tire and also generate downforce and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So another large project that simulations people can work into. And there's structures and validation, I think, on most of these. Yeah, on basically all these large projects have all three. Yeah. And then full car sim, Logan is going to be working heavily into this. And I'm sure once we have it running, lots of people are going to be working with those sims too. So definitely some good work to be done on that and a large project to work throughout the year. And then with full car sims and kind of working together, these two and such, CFD cornering sims. So we got a lot of questions at competition about how our vehicle kind of performs in cornering and stuff. And I was able to finagle my way out of some questions with some old simulations that we've done. So definitely this year, working into cornering sims. And honestly, this can work into a lot of different projects too. Yeah. Okay, that was a lot, but got through everything, kind of gave you guys all an overview. And we'll fit into now kind of working through project.
Did you talk about under tray or did I just miss it?
Floors, yeah, under tray, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, floor redesign, under tray. Yeah. Yep.
Have we given up on shock pods for COP and stuff like that?
No, that's not an us project. So we're not going to dive into, like, a lot of the sensors that we have are very aero or structure specific, like in terms of the ones that we have on project. Shock pods are not just aero specific, so that's a controls project. So Surya and Shrey and then we'll be the ones kind of implementing the shock pods, and there's no really aero or composites knowledge needed to be able to do that. It's mainly just chassis and controls. But yes, we will be running data AC with shock pods, as it's pretty much universal across any race industry to use shock pods for aero data. Okay. Any other questions?
When you say full car sim, I'm just wondering, like, what do you mean by that? Like, that's already run for this past year.
I'm gonna let
And-
Logan take that one.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering because last year it was already run, so maybe like adaptive measure farm and all that jazz. I just wanted to know you're gonna. It's mainly just the process of running the sim because I was like you about to say you can't really run a full car sim until everything else is designed already. So cool.
Always can improve any project that you work on, or other people.
Yeah. I'm not saying. I was just.
I know. Just for general stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is now we've reached the point that me and Logan have not talked past this, but we're gonna try to kind of get a feel for assigning projects. So okay, here is what we should do. I have an idea. I'm gonna make a very quick. I'm gonna make a very quick spreadsheet here for you guys for validation and stuff like that. Okay, I'm making a spreadsheet here and I'm going to share it or post a link into the chat, and then you guys can add yourselves into kind of the specialization that you feel you fall under to start. And then we can assign projects for this year through that to kind of work with specializations first. Okay, I just posted in the chat. Can you guys have access to that? Engineers just came back, so I was gonna give them some space.
Yeah, I can access it.
Okay, so just go
It
ahead.
says that it's view only, at least for me.
It says view only. Okay, hold on.
I don't know if that's for everyone else, but
Editor. Okay, yeah. You can kind of reload it. For those of you guys that just joined, I know Aaron, you were working. Basically, we're splitting up the team into specializations, and projects fall under that. Everyone's still going to work together, but your specialization is kind of like what you do in the background of our team and research and kind of things like that. So also, I'm going to point out for all you guys, once you if you put your name under a specialization, you don't need to stay in that specialization too. This is just kind of to keep us organized. If a week in or halfway through the year, you want to change, feel free to jump on a different project or something like that. Or if you want to float around to different specializations at the start. But ideally, we have a bunch of people organized working together.
Also, just wondering, it's like the specialization also works like with in other sub teams because, like for example, like we in Aero probably they require like input from like vehicle dynamics and like other aspect, like maybe from chassis or like from
So
electronics with DRS.
Something that the design judges told us last year or this last competition was we need a lot more cross kind of disciplinary work. So yeah, in general, we're going to integrate a lot of these projects. So we're going to have a lot more work periods where everyone comes together as a team and works. And I expect all you guys that work on projects that, honestly, I don't think there's a single project on there that isn't in some remote way related to another team. So if there's anything that relates, definitely talk to that team. So like a lot of these big projects too, like floors or front wing or things like that, we're going to be working a lot with the other teams so that we don't design separate projects and they don't work together, which is not a good way to design a car. So, yeah.
Are these specializations like what we would like to do, or is this like what we think? Is it what we'd like to do, or is it what we believe our skill sets?
Whatever you want. Like, it's not what you're gonna do. It's just like probably your design project, and like just so that if other teams have a need for a structures person, I can point them towards a structure specialization person, or if they need like CFD or simulation or validation.
So we only do one. We only pick one then.
Yeah, it's like being a specialist. You work in aerodynamics and composites, but you have a specialist in something. Yeah. So we will be asking you questions about this subject, basically.
Got it.
Is the way to think about it.
Can you be a reference?
You can become a new specialization if you like. I know, Jackson, you worked a lot on CFD last year. If you want to do structures, just using you as an example, you can be a structure specialization this year. I'm not going to hold anyone to what their did in the past.
My question though is like, if I wanted to do structures and I did a lot of CFD last year, and there's a CFD question that comes up.
Yeah,
Am I going to get asked? Like, am I going to get asked for that, or like, because I'm more than happy to help with the CFD stuff, right? If there's questions, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
This is not a very strict like you're not allowed to talk about anything else. It's if you have input in anything, as always with this team, like if you want to help out with chassis people or powertrain people or stuff, like, and you have input, you can give it.
I think maybe it might make sense to like almost explain it more as like what you're responsible for.
Yeah.
Like you'll be working on projects. You know, you might be part of a team working on a project. You might be in charge of the aerodynamic, like the CFD simulations, and that's what you're going to be responsible for. That doesn't mean you're not going to help like manufacture the part, right? It just means like that's what you're responsible for.
Yeah. I will be. If there's a question about something like CFD related on a project, I will ask the person that is that specialization on that project. Or if there's like something going wrong, it's your responsibility.
Got it. So each person has their own specialization that they're working within, and then you guys, me being Amir and Logan are like the leaders of all of the specialization, because you're
So the idea is that because we have such a large team now, we can be a lot more organized. Another thing that I didn't mention yet that I will is that because we have so many of you and we're going to have even more this year, last year Isaac and I kind of met with all of your projects individually and jumped, and even when there were not a lot of projects, it was a lot of jumping around throughout the week. So what we're going to do is just have specialization meetings this year that will be kind of more in depth into the projects, and then still having our regular meeting that goes over Monday and things like that. Okay, now here's what I want to do, because I don't want to drag this meeting out too long, and some KMR people are coming back. I think a good way that we can go into like kind of assigning projects and stuff, now that I've explained them all, is I want all of you guys in this meeting, and I'll send a message out in Aero as well. Send me and Logan a DM of kind of the top 3 projects that you're interested in. And we'll talk with you guys in these upcoming weeks, and then kind of assign you to that, because I don't really want to run through the whole list again, assigning people to projects. And then that gives you guys some time, because these are some bigger decisions, to think about it. You can even move yourself around in the specialization, but I think this is a good thing for you guys to think about, and kind of look at your school schedules too. Put your top 3 projects, and then we'll work with you guys into which one makes sense organizationally, and also in terms of what you're interested in too. Does that sound good for all you guys? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So I will send a reminder, but does anyone have any last minute questions? Okay. So I will send a reminder, DM me and Logan, and we will kind of work in with you guys to, like, don't DM us separately, put us together in a chat. And yeah, top 3. If you really are split between 4, you can, but don't write out every single project that and yeah, exactly. And then we'll work with you guys kind of individually to set everyone up.